Hello, I want to welcome you to our Coffee and Conversation group. My name is Sarah Carell. I'm the founder of The Power of Our Story. And we are a community where veterans, first responders, and all protectors can come and connect, share their experiences, and heal together. So today I want to welcome our guest, Sara Brady. A little bit about Sara. She is a retired first responder with a master's degree in criminal justice and a mission to be a catalyst for system-wide next generation wellness transformation in public safety world. She blends Eastern and Western healing strategies to help responders and the systems that support them reclaim health, vitality, and a true sense of being alive. Her diverse background as a family behavioral therapist, juvenile probation officer, and a 911 dispatcher equips her with a uniquely practical understanding of the immense pressures facing the first responder community. Now, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified trauma informed mental health coach, Sara leads the Thin Line consulting team in delivering next generation wellness solutions for public safety organizations. So, Sara, I am so thrilled to welcome you. Um, we would love to hear more about you, your story, and what you're doing now. So, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, that bio. It's just like, oh wait, I guess maybe I do those things. Like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, like because it's so interesting. My story is so very much one of this journey of healing, and we were talking a little bit about that obviously before agreeing to this storytelling experience, but I really believe that healing is the hardest work we're ever going to do and the best choice that we're ever going to make. So much so that it's on my business cards. So like um hi. There's so much to my story, but I think it's almost hard to know where to start. I guess, I have complex PTSD from my childhood. So that played a role in my development and who I became and who I am today. And I guess I'll just start with my career space. So I started my career as a therapist. And like you had said, I graduated with a master's degree in criminal justice. And so I graduated in 2008. So it was right at the beginning of the recession. And so I couldn't find a job. And so I ended up getting into um, behavioral health as a therapist. I was working with kids and families where the kid was at risk of being removed from the home. And my job was to go into the home on a short-term basis and help the kids and families stay together. And so my role I helped families identify what was causing the risk of removal and then helped the families reduce that risk so they could stay together. So I did that for several years and then they couldn't bill for me from in the state. And so I ended up getting laid off and moving into juvenile probation. So I kind of did the flip side of what I was doing in as a therapist. And I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so my first green as grass, fresh out of school job was in Northern Kentucky. So I've been in the field since basically the start of my career. And I would travel to all 10 Northern Kentucky counties. And so I saw a lot of really profound things in rural poverty and um, just third world country type settings that we don't think are still in our country because we have all of these first world things. But I would go into homes that didn't have running water and holes in the floor and kids that were really, really damaged at such a young age. And that was very um, eye-opening, I think is maybe the gentlest, kindest way to say that. Um, and so I moved into probation after I got laid off because they couldn't bill for me because I don't have a license. I'm not a licensed clinician. I'm a clinician in my heart, but I'm not a licensed clinician, so they can't bill for me. Um, and so I moved into juvenile probation, and I like to tell people I worked with the gun-toting thugs, and I loved it. I had definitely I spent a couple years working face to face with like I was on a specialized team where the kids that I worked with were taken out of the community and put into residential facilities. So I was still able to use some of that mental health background that I have, just in a from that criminal justice perspective, which I love. My Okay, so I'll tell a story. I was in college and I wasn't going to go to college right away. I was in Wisconsin, grew up there, and my dad was like, "You're going to college." And I was like, "Fine." So I went to a community school and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I took an intro to criminal justice class and I was like, "Where can I do this? This is cool." And it was just like, I need to go do this. And so I tracked that professor down. I took his other classes and I was like, where can I go? What can I do with this? Like, this is it. I just knew it. And he was like, well, you can go to Loyola, you could go to Georgetown, or you could go to the University of Cincinnati. Those are the best schools for criminal justice programs. And I was like, okay, well, Loyola and Georgetown are too freaking expensive. So let me check out UC. So I road tripped with my bestie and we came down. I missed the tour campus or the campus tour. And so we just walked around the campus on our own. There was a Starbucks on campus and I'm like, I'm in. And I moved out of Wisconsin and never looked back. So graduated from there, which was super fun. And that's how I kind of landed in this criminal justice space. And so after I left or after I was laid off, I got into a specialized team where I only worked with the kids that were already removed from the community. So when I say I worked with the gun-toting thugs, like I really did. They were the ones, my kids were, instead of going into juvenile prison, they went into residential facilities. And so my job was to go into the facilities, carry out the orders of the court. So, and hold both the child and the facility accountable. So my job was to make sure the kid was doing the work and the facility was doing what we were paying them to do. And then I walked with them as they transitioned back into the community. And I loved working with my kids. I love teenagers. They're so easy for me. And teens have this like sixth sense. If you've ever had to deal with a teenager, like they know if you're real, they know if you're manipulating, they just know. They know if you're in their corner and on their team. And they're not like afraid to call it out either, which is fantastic. And so I loved working with my kids. I hated the politics. As most of you know, you worked for the government, some form of government, and that you work in a box when you're in a government work. And I don't do well in a box. I would ping pong around in there with my ideas and my creativity, and it just kept getting smushed down. So I did probation for a couple of years and then I discovered dispatch and I didn't even know dispatch was a thing. And when I figured it out, the first time I walked into the radio room for like my sit along or whatever, all the bells and whistles were going off and I was like, this is so cool. What does this do? And what does that do? And how does it connect to this? And this is really cool. You get to tell cops where to go. That's awesome. My dispatcher's in the room, like And so I was in dispatch here for Hamilton County. It houses Cincinnati, but I Cincinnati has its own PSAP, which is a dispatch center. And so, but I did dispatch for over 120 different police, fire, and EMS agencies, and so a really large facility and had a lot of things happen in my very short time there. I had two line of duty deaths that happened while I was in the room. So I had one murder and one accident. And so definitely had some moments and then of course other things. I had a 27-year-old Army veteran kill himself on the phone with me as well. So I have these moments in my journey that were very real. That the moments that you're never gonna forget. They leave a mark. And yeah, and I before coming into so that's my career story, right? That's the career path. In 2014, I was diagnosed with PTSD. So when I was I was in probation when that happened. It was rooted in my husband had had an affair with my best friend, and he came to me and owned it, and we were kids when we got married. He was 20 and I was 23, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were just babies when we got married. And so We worked through that, and I started counseling. And I really think that the healing journey has, and research shows this because in the midst of my own journey, I've been studying trauma for 20 years, not just because I was engaging it in my field work. I was seeing these patterns. And I was like, trying to understand, trying to reconcile these patterns that I was seeing. And so studying it, excuse me, but I also was trying to reconcile my own story, trying to figure out who I am and what brought me to be me, and what my patterns were and my adaptive coping mechanisms were. And so um, in 2014, he came to me and said that he was having this affair with my best friend. And um, we agreed. We set up some boundaries and agreed to work through it, and saw a psychologist who's a badass. He's retired now. He's like a black belt in judo, and like did the fit for duties for officers in our community. I mean, he's a badass. And now he's like retired on some island with his hot wife, and he's living his best life. And I'm like, good for you, man. Like, glad you're living your best life. You've earned it. And he is not for everybody. He's the type of psychologist that like I had friends that kind of tried to work with him, and he was not a good fit for them, but he was a great fit for me. Like, I'm not by nature very emotional. I can tell you and help you navigate your emotions. I can feel what you're feeling, which was not necessarily a great thing when I was in dispatch, but for me to feel what I'm feeling is like, oh, I can't, I need help with that. Like, that is just a foreign thing to, it was a journey to learn to separate what you're feeling versus what I'm feeling, what's mine versus what's yours. And he really helped me in that journey. And so in 2014, I was a mess, and really, I don't, I don't really know how I still managed to go to work as a probation officer. I'm very thankful for my boss. She was amazing and really walked with me on that journey and gave me a lot of grace and space to do my healing. Um, and just really had to decondition a lot of things that led to that moment, and had to rebuild some things. So that was where I really started my mental health journey. And research says that there's really three pillars of healing: your beliefs and values, your biology, and then the somatics or the energetics of healing. And so in that season from 2014 until about 2016, I really was focused on my mental health and my beliefs and my values, and deconditioning from a lot of, I grew up in the church, and just kind of peeling back the layers of that, and um, abuse and neglect that I've had in my history, and the complex PTSD stuff. And so there's more to that journey as well that I'm open about, probably not in a recorded state. That would have to be like offline. But I'm very open about it. I'm not, there's nothing in my story I don't feel comfortable talking about. But so 2014, I'm in it, man. I'm in the journey of deconditioning and like breaking down, building back up, and figuring out who I am and my values. And um, that was a very interesting journey. When your beliefs are truly challenged, it's like it's such a threat to your identity, and it you have to, if you don't work through that, man, it's just a hard journey to work through that. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into um, deconditioning, and then like deconstruction, and then picking up the pieces that I'm like, yep, this is me. Nope, that wasn't me. That was someone else. That was such a journey, and I still do it to this day. It's such an healing is such an active process. And then so in 2016, I got really sick. So I had been working through my mental health, and then in 2016, I got really sick. So what culminated in what I would call a true burnout, um, between trying to make my marriage work, working a high stress, high output job within the law enforcement space where I was like, I'm law enforcement, but I'm not, but I am, but I'm not. Like, it was this really funky thing because I didn't carry a gun. I had a taser, but I didn't, when I was in the field, I didn't wear my taser because if I looked like law enforcement, I couldn't sneak in to the hood, basically. Like, if I walked in looking like law enforcement, I would have a target on my back. But if I walked in looking like a social worker, I could walk into places that differently, like I was received differently. And so I had the authority of from the court system, but I didn't want it to look that way. So that was an interesting dynamic to navigate in that space. And so in 2016, I was all of that. 2016, I got really sick, and let's just say I knew where every clean bathroom was in Hamilton County. Okay. I knew where every clean bathroom was. And so what it looked like, what burnout looked like was I would get up in the morning, I'd get up at 8, be downtown by 9, working my job, be home between like 2 and 4 because I could make my own schedule and I was in the field and blah blah blah. I'd be home between 2 and 4. I would sleep for like 3 to 4 hours, get up, have dinner, go to sleep, do it all over again the next day. That was my life for 6 months. Like I was just a shell. I don't even know. Like I just barely had enough energy to do my job, and that was it. And then my body like broke and I literally had diarrhea for 6 weeks with no explanation. And I mean, my body, like my gut broke. It broke. And so when you get sick, you go to the doctor, right? So I went to the doctor and this guy poked my tummy 3 times, put me on the worst antibiotic on the market, gave me an antidiarrheal, and sent me on my way. And I was like, this is not fixing my problem. Like my body is trying to tell me something and I don't understand. I need someone to help me understand what it is that my body is telling me so I can respond in a way that my body can heal and like I can get better and I can reclaim my life. So I had found my functional health practitioner back in 2011, but we were poor. We really didn't have any money. We had been married for like 4 years. And we were paying off school debt, so we really didn't have any money. And I just wasn't desperate enough. And so by 2016, I was pretty desperate. I was like, I need to be better. I need to feel better. Like I'm not okay. And traditional Western medicine is not solving this issue. And I knew I was on my way to like a diagnosis of like IBS or Crohn's or whatever. And I was like, I just don't accept at 30 that I need to be on pills for the rest of my life. Like, I just don't think God made my body that way. I don't believe that. And I leaned into that and I found my practitioner and onboarded with my practitioner. And we ran a bunch of functional health labs. We ran poop, pee, and blood and off the beaten path labs that the doctors don't run, and discovered all of these healing opportunities where like my DNA was almost resting. So that is a really bad thing when your DNA goes to sleep because then your cells get produced incorrectly. And that leads to things like cancers, tumors, and growths. And so at 30, I was basically told, we need to shift your trajectory or you're going to probably end up with cancers, tumors, or growth. So let's get some stuff back on track. And so my gut was totally broken. I had a leaky gut and my hormones were messed. I didn't have any cortisol. So one of the things that was really interesting that came from those tests those labs was cortisol is actually our friend. I'll do a little teaching because that's what I do. Cortisol is actually our friend. It wakes us up in the morning and keeps us alive. And the amount of cortisol that we can produce is based on our genetics. So you might be able to stay in a stressed state where your body is needing to pump out cortisol longer than me. That's based on your genetics. And so for me, I had taxed my cortisol, my adrenals to the point where I wasn't producing cortisol pretty much anymore. And so I had very, very low production. So that's why I couldn't wake up in the morning, why I couldn't get moving in the morning, and why I needed to sleep in the afternoon because I just didn't have enough cortisol to get moving. And so that is the definition of physical burnout, where your body doesn't have the cortisol it needs to keep you awake and alert and alive. And so one of the things my practitioner looked at me and said, he's like, you have to stop working out. And I looked at him and I was like, I will die if I stop working out. And he was like, you have to stop working out or you will die. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Okay, 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 Okay. Because I was a gym rat, and that was part of the reason I was burnt out. I would get up in the morning, I'd run for 6 miles on the treadmill, slow, but I would do it, right? And then I'd come back in the afternoon and I'd lift for like 45 to 60, maybe 90 minutes, depending on how social I felt that day, right? And so, and I loved it. It was such an outlet for me, and it was like this space where I could like reclaim and feel empowered. And I learned to lift because I was a swimmer when I was younger and blew out my shoulder, and so that was a thing. And so it was really powerful to me to for me to get back into um, exercise and movement, and lifting was just really fun. I to this day love playing with heavy things. I love getting into the gym and moving heavy weights. It just feels so good. Um, and so he told me I had to stop, and I had to reframe what movement looked like because my body couldn't keep up with the demand. And so that was also quite a journey. So from 2016 until 2018, I had another kind of roadblock moment in my physical healing journey where I went, that's the last time I actually saw a real doctor. I went to my OBGYN and I had gained 40 pounds, and I was like, I am not okay. Can you help me figure out what's going on? And she's like, the short version of it is she diagnosed me with PCOS, insulin resistant PCOS. And I was like, okay, what is that? And we kind of talked through that. And I was like, and she wanted to put me on metformin. And I was like, well, my body doesn't have a metformin deficiency. Like, can you help me figure out what's going on? Like, why is my body giving me these symptoms of PCOS? And how can I fix this? How can I heal this? Because I believe that my body wants to heal. I believe that that's the way God made me. So, how can you help me? I kid you not, this little Greek lady who'd been looking at my hoo-ha for a decade looked at me and said, I don't do that. You need to work with your practitioner for that. And I was like, thank you for telling me who you are. I'm going to listen, and I will not be coming back. And that was the last time I saw her. And so went back to my practitioner, ran some more labs, and discovered some more opportunities. And there's a whole story there which I can talk about, but I'll move through that. But the short answer is I discovered I had parasites, and so I went through many, many, many cycles of parasite cleansing, um, and where I'm at today in that part of my journey is I'm playing with peptides. I really believe peptides are next gen medicine. And that's been some real breakthroughs with energy and vitality. And but it's just been this very long journey, the 10-year functional health physical journey to reclaim my energy and my vitality, like that sense of being alive, because that's what vitality is. And living is not the miracle. Being alive, feeling alive is the miracle. And so I've been able to really reclaim that. And that's been like such a beautiful thing. Like I'm back to me. I have this big personality. I love to teach. I love to like go and engage in people and stuff. Um and I've reclaimed that. And 10 years ago I was a shell of this person. And so that's been my physical healing journey. And then on the somatic side, on the moving energy, I that's a side that's a little woo-woo for me. And I think there's truth in the woo-woo. I grew up spiritual and with faith, and so I believe in the woo-woo. I also think that the woo-woo has a lot of like sketchy stuff, so I'm really skeptical about a lot of things. But I really do believe that we move energy through our body, and I think the science backs that up. And so, yeah, the somatic side of thing or moving energy, I call it ducks and bears. Like when I teach classes to public safety professionals about stress and trauma and what the difference is and why it matters, I talk about ducks and bears and how they both kill you. If you don't deal with them, ducks and bears will both kill you. Ducks will kill you very slowly if you don't address the where they're pecking at you, and the bears will chomp you up, right? And take big chunks of your flesh out. And it's the accumulation of the damage from ducks and bears that ultimately like is our demise unless we deal with and close out the damage from the ducks and bears. And so, like when I was in the radio room, my officer that was murdered, that was a bear, right? That like that I have her picture in my car. Like she'll be with me always because it was just she deserves to be remembered. And I'm not the only one who remembers her, but I will remember her. And the ducks are the 911 alarm calls. Like the alarm company calls. Michelle, I see you nodding. And you're like, "Yup." So to give some context to this, for those of you who don't know, alarm companies will call and be like, "I am on an alarm activation in zone 55." Where is zone 55? Oh, I don't know. Do you have contact information? Oh, we haven't had it updated. Great, you're useless. Like now I have to send my officer to zone 55, wherever that is, and pray that it's a false alarm, right? So those are the ducks, right? Or the hang up 911 calls that you have to call back because it actually could be an emergency, or it's your phone getting activated on a roller coaster, right? So you got to call those back, right? Those are the ducks, the things that are just like if you don't address them and you're stressed out already, they will send you over the edge. And so ducks and bears, man, ducks and bears. Hybrids and rotation. Yes, the woo woo. I agree. There's truth in the woo woo. And I think when you're in public safety, you get your intuition is toned and honed in a little bit differently than like Gen Pop. Good. I'm glad. Please take the ducks and bears analogy. I didn't create it. I grabbed it from someone else, so I love to share it. So so yeah, that's a little bit about my backstory and so how I got to where I am today in 2020. I I think there was a pandemic, but I don't really know because I got divorced. My ex really, I, this hopefully this isn't TMI, but my ex just he really wanted to have sex with his personal trainer, and like that wasn't gonna work for me. So I was like, why don't you go do that? Because we've been like, this will be the second time that you will have wanted to go do your own thing. Why don't you go do that? I'm gonna take half of what we built and go start a new life because I'm done with this. I'm done. And so he went and did that. And now I'm very happily remarried to a wonderful man with a wonderful bonus kid. And the journey of that has been what my counselor calls abundance. And that I'm living in abundance right now. So beautiful. That story ended very or like has a really pretty bow on it. But um the yeah, so in 2020 I got divorced. I sold a house, I bought a house, I rehabbed the house, I quit my job, I started a business. And I think there was a pandemic. I don't really know. I because I my whole world was like this and I was starting fresh. So 2020 was really an interesting year in my practice, thin line consulting. I had the name before I knew what it was going to be. So I actually filed for the LLC in Ohio in July of 2020, right after my divorce was finalized. And it was almost like a divine drop in of what the name was supposed to be. And I had no idea what it was going to be. I just knew that that was going to be the name. And in November, I started my functional health certification. So I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, which gives me permission and training to run functional labs and then uh, create a plan based on lab data and your experience. So I coach people on their functional health journey. And I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose, I don't treat anything specific, but I help individuals walk through healing opportunities to come back into alignment with their mind and body. And yeah, and reclaim vitality in the midst of that. And so that's what this one is right there, that certification. Um, and so I found that in November and I started taking clients. The certification program is typically a 6 month to a year long process. I did it in three, partially because I have no kids and I was alone and the world was still pretty shut down and I just treated it like my 40-hour job. And so I started onboarding clients March 1st of 2021. I met my husband the beginning of April of 2021, and we actually got married in April of 2023. We're coming up on our 3 year anniversary, which is super fun. And from there, it's been like I stepped out of dispatch in 2020, and then it's been a journey to come back into public safety and bring my voice back in and what I have to offer. And definitely have had some imposter syndrome that I've had to work through and just um, figure out what the things that I had to say and from my own experience, lived experience, my education, um, and how that could impact the community as a whole. And so it's been a really fun journey to get to where I am today, which is a whole other story. But today, what I do is I teach, I coach, and I consult on wellness in the industry. And I really am on a mission. It became very clear in May of last year what my mission was. And it is to be a catalyst for change in public safety wellness because in our industry, wellness is this topic of conversation, which is great. We need it to be, but it's a very disorganized topic. And we have lots of resources, we have some services, but there's no structure to it. The systems have not adapted yet to wellness. And so I put together a team in November of last year. I've got a clinician on my team and a peer support expert. And the three of us are working. We've got some really cool collaborations in the industry, mostly on the 911 side, but some of the collaborations are moving into like body worn camera stuff and QA/QI stuff. And so there's this tech side that I'm working with too, where we're integrating wellness into tech, integrating wellness into HR and operations so that it really can be the systemic approach where wellness is not a just check the box thing, but it's actually something that is real and meaningful and makes a difference and has an impact. So that's what I'm doing today. And on a personal note, I'm just like on the hunt for community. This one piece that didn't really come out, but I was a pastor's wife for a couple of years because my ex-husband was a youth pastor and a worship pastor. And so in 2011, he actually got fired, and my psychologist called it emotionally violent. And so that was another piece of my story that I'm totally fine with talking about, but it's been a journey of the church gets a lot of something's really wrong and something's really right. And community is one of the things that the church gets really right. And so it's been hard to um, not have a church community because of that experience. And then to be out of public safety, like in the trenches of it. And like now I'm like this lone wolf having my own business. It's like for so long in my practice, it was me, myself, and I. And so it's been kind of lonely. And so on a personal note, I just am been like kind of peeking around, sniffing around, like, where's my community? Where are my people? Where can I be safe enough to really like not be concerned about my story being used against me or, um, like, I don't know, feeling violated over that. And so I've been kind of like sniffing around for community and, Sarah and I were talking and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be with you guys and um to hear more about your stories and to support you guys and um yeah, so I think that's what I have and my story, I'm really open about my story and I would love to field any questions that you might have or you're welcome. Um yeah, I that's what I got, Sarah.
That was fantastic. I mean, it was deep. There was so much, and you are such a ton of fun. You are
Oh,
so fun, Sarah. I am so
thank you.
thrilled that you're here, that we get to know you, you get to know us, and definitely hope that we can see you more often. I'm going to go just right away to Michelle, and what's on your mind?
Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah. I definitely love your energy. You talk the way that I used to talk with my dispatcher friends, and it's super exciting to have that. I definitely want to connect offline at some point because I feel like some of my journey with the research and stuff I'm doing currently, I think we could help each other. So I would love to do that. But I do have an actual question for you because a lot of your story, man, did you hit trigger points with my story as well, right? And so I don't know if we'll have to pause this for your answers, so feel free to let Sarah know. But I am curious because I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2021 from an incident I worked. Through that, I discovered the accumulation of all the trauma I was carrying with me through adulthood. But what came out even more so, once I started healing a bit from that, I started peeling back those layers and realizing that I actually have complex PTSD from childhood that never really came through, I guess, until I started the one. So I'm currently working on, the complex portion. But my question to you is, did you notice that one showed up after the other? And can you give any advice on trying to navigate once you recognize that you actually you kind of have a life of trauma and how you navigated that piece?
That's a great question. For me, my turning point moment, my like falling off the cliff moment was when my ex had the affair with my best friend, which that story on a side note actually has a beautiful redemption arc. She and I didn't talk for 5 years. She got sober and has stayed sober, and now she's my best friend again. We talk almost every day. So like there's a beautiful redemption arc there too. But that was the kind of the moment that kind of flipped me over the edge. And I think that healing is the hardest work you will ever do and the best choice you will ever make. In it, you don't ever arrive. That I articulate it to my clients like I think there's three different stages to healing. The first one is when you like the lights come on and you're like, "Oh, bye, Rand. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that you're here like a lot." I articulate that there's three different like stages, I think. And the first one is like where the lights come on and you're like, oh shit, I got
Mhm.
some stuff. Like I'm not okay. And then you kind of get like this messy start, right? Where you're like, like, okay, no, and you feel like you're kind of like you're like, I don't know if I can do this. There's like this great big hole in front of me. It's like this black abyss, and if I fall into it, I'm gonna die. I think I'm gonna die. I can't see the bottom, but I think I need to fall into it to fix it. And so then you fall into it, right? You jump into the journey of healing and you just lean into the process of it and you have people on your team to help guide you and then you get like halfway through it and you start to see some fruit. Like you start to practice the skills that you're learning in counseling, you start to move your body, you start to heal your body and the biology and this that side of things. You get the energy moving and you start to see some fruit from that and you start to feel a little bit better. And that's like where I like to call the middle. And I think a lot of people stop in the middle because they're like, "Oh, okay. I did enough. I'm good. I'm good." And they don't they miss out on the opportunity for like real vitality and like really pushing through to abundance. And and then so that's like the middle part of the journey. And then the maintenance is what I like to call is when like you have that you know the skills, you have the tools, you have the resources, you are disciplined and diligent about practicing those skills and you tap in and tune into the resources that you have and the support system that you have and the amount of times that you need to practice those skills, the frequency, intensity, and duration of those start to come down. And then it's like, oh, I there's this moment where like the chaos flips to peace. And the peace is really uncomfortable because you're so acclimated to the chaos. And when that happens, it's like now the one of the only things that really triggers me where you will see a whole different side of me come out is if I truly feel like my peace is threatened. Ask my 16-year-old. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think that like the healing journey is so very much a journey of learning the skills, integrating the skills, practicing the skills, because knowing and doing are two very different things.
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'd love to connect offline.
Okay.
Sarah, you are just sharing so much really great information in your original talk and now too. I think it's always so helpful when people know what to expect. So it's not so much, I think, a black abyss So I think you share it beautifully and in such a fun way, such a vitality filled way. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks. Janet.
Thanks. Sarah, we have connected on LinkedIn, but we haven't set up any time to get together. Uh, my journey's a little different than yours and Michelle's because my diagnosis came in 2003,
Hmm.
long before they even thought of police officers having PTSD, never mind a civilian member. And it probably goes back further because when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 1991, they at the naturopathic college said I probably had it for 10 years.
Hmm.
So my experience was all health. So I can relate to yours, went from one health to another health. And it was a car accident that I thought everything was happening that sent me to a psychologist who diagnosed me first visit. This has nothing to do with the car accident. And then it took it wasn't until 2011 when I sat down and wrote my story, The Night the Mask Cracked, of what happened in 2003. That sent me to healing. So, yes, I would like to talk some more. And you and Michelle and I, she's so busy, Michelle. And I'm sure you are too, Sarah. But yeah, I think that us three coming together, especially in the field of service with dispatch and stuff, that there's work to be done there, but we can all come from different places and different stories that because everybody relates to a different story, right?
Mhm.
And together we can create miracles.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy I finally got on.
Me too. Thanks, Janet. I'm looking forward to connecting offline too.
Me too. Thanks.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. I said all this stuff. Thank you. Good to see you, Janet, all that sort of thing. And then Scott, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I thought I froze on this end. I was like, what's going on? Well, Sarah, you are absolutely welcome here anytime that you want to come on. We have all kinds of different groups and things that meet up. I'm sure Sarah's probably already given you the email for the schedule. You can pick and choose what you want to be part of. So welcome. I'll just welcome you because I know you'll be back. Uh, yeah, you're kind of repeating what's already been said. Your energy level, the vitality that you speak to, is very much the case. I'm glad that you said that you're remarried, and when you said that, you can just see the goodness and the light, and that made me happy for you. Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Those are my boys. That's my life now. And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. I mean, and that's tremendous, so that's a good news story, right? So I'm glad that you shared that with us because I was wondering, right? But yeah, you mentioned about things that churches do wrong and churches do right. That's the truth, right? That's the world we live in, right? That's what happens in this world, and the church is made of people, and people don't always make the best decisions, right? And so then we have to deal with that, but. Um, I think as long as we believe and come back and ask for forgiveness, the fact that you shared that you've given forgiveness, that you had the grace, and I know how hard that must have been. Well, I mean, I don't know, but I can imagine how hard that must have been. And that says a lot about who you are as a person and your growth. And that's tremendous. And I think that the fact that you shared that too, this says a lot about who you are and who you've become. And I'm very glad that I was on the call today. This is a uplifting call, and you seem like a very fun person. So even if it's only that, if you're a fun person, we want you to be part of our group. So
thanks.
you bring so much more, so it's all good. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, forgiveness is not about the other person. It just isn't. Forgiveness is about the condition of your heart, my heart. Like, and it's there are there's a lot of different places in my story that um things happened that were outside of my control and even outside of my influence in a lot of ways. And um yeah, I just don't have a lot of space in my insides anymore for the darkness that comes with anger and bitterness. And um I don't want to carry that. And forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about me. And oh, I have boundaries up. Don't like I learned boundaries in the last 10 years. Um but yeah, and it has been a journey. It hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and on my hands and knees crying out of like, why? Why this? Why me? Why, that's a journey.
Yeah, it is. I am right there with you. The boundaries thing is true, and the feeling that you get once you truly do release and there's forgiveness, yeah, that burden that you talk about that's lifted, man, that makes such a difference in your
Mhm.
life, and you're able to kind of exhale and move forward, because you, you leave it behind. I mean, you really do. When you forgive, you leave it behind, and you have boundaries, but that grace is absolutely something that changes your life. I agree.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think too, like, I feel like forgiveness is something that my experience of forgiveness, especially with my ex, was something that happened on repeat. Like, I had to keep going around the circle. Like, I'd have a different memory that would pop up, and I'd have to like work through that memory. I had to reparent myself in a lot of those moments. And thank God for my counselor. She's wonderful. I started seeing her in December of 2019. So she walked me through a lot of it, but it's just a lot of like going around the circle and recognizing this was a wound. Like this person's behavior, the outcome of this behavior wounded me. Like it hurt me, it cut me. And now I'm not responsible for his behavior. I'm not responsible for what he chose to do, but I am responsible for how I choose to respond and what I do with the aftermath of his choices. And quite frankly, I'm very glad to not be married to him because he had a cycle. He has addiction issues and he has a cycle where like every 4 to 6 years, he was blowing up our life. Like it started with getting fired from the church, and then it was the affair, and then it ultimately was him leaving. And so it was like he just consistently blew up our life. And so now I don't have to deal with that. Like, and I'm very grateful for that. And but it was like the memories that would pop up in the last, for the first like 2 to 3 years after he left, it was just a lot of crying and releasing the somatics, the energies of that, and then um letting it go and just and I'd be fine for a while, and then another thing would come up and I'd be like blindsided, whammied with it. I'm like, okay, here we go again. Time to go through the process. And that's what I mean with like healing is such a journey, and it is, you learn your skills along the way and you have to practice those skills. And the more you practice them, the better you get at them. It's like it takes 10,000 hours to master something. I am like, there are some pieces of the healing journey I have mastered because I have had to practice them for 10,000 hours, right? Like, and so yeah, like it's just a journey, and you have to be disciplined in it, and you have to rest. I think like it's a marathon, not a sprint. And when it's peaceful, you lean into the peace because like you're gonna come the chaos is gonna come back. The opportunity to heal is gonna come back. And so you're responsible for how you respond to it. So
Excellent.
thanks, Scott. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. Scott shares an amazing message on forgiveness too. He's one of the authors of our book and just actually shared at the VFW as our featured storyteller locally here, VFW Solana Beach. Awesome job. So it's funny that you shared that right after he talked. Thank you, Scott. And then Rich.
Sarah, thank you very much. Great story. I forgot to mention in my uh, introduction that I started my law enforcement career in 1967.
Mm.
So I'm in the era of call box keys, no vests, uh, a baton, a can of mace, and a device known as the Iron Claw.
That's amazing.
And
Is that what is that?
that's a come along, right? That's it opens up and you put it on the wrist, person's wrist, and you turn it, and trust me, they will come along. It's called the Iron Claw.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's, uh, I guess that was supposed to be a good deal. Anyway,
That's interesting.
yeah. Um, when I first told my story, I think it was McCurdy who told me to send that uh, video to my daughters because they never knew. And so I sent it to them, and you know, they said, Dad, now we understand some of the stuff that was going on because some of it they felt was their fault, but they didn't know. Um, I had a drug dealer in 1980 in Newark that tried to assassinate me, and somebody asked me a while after that, said, um, "How do you feel about this guy?" I said, "I've forgiven him a long time ago." Well, how could you? I said, because number one, if God could forgive me, who am I not to forgive someone else? Plus, I don't want him running space in my head, right?
Bingo.
So, uh, so I made that choice, and I'm not sorry I did.
Mhm.
But I had a 67. There was nothing for us. I
Mhm.
didn't get any kind of relief until 1991 when I finally got to DEA headquarters and we had some collisions on uh, on site, and so I carried all of that stuff with me. I had a very intimate relationship with Johnny Walker Red and Jack Daniels, and to the point where I had a friend who owned a liquor store that I would call him if I was going to be working past 10 o'clock, and he knew what to do. He would take a bottle of a fifth of Johnny Walker, put it in a bag, and put it by a garbage can alongside the building. And on the way home, I'd pick it up, go home, uh, take the top off, and pass out. You get up the next day and do it all over again. But um, I'm very glad I was here to be able to hear, listen to your story today. I thank you very much for all you do.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. I believe Sabine's hand was up. Sometimes it just goes down automatically. Sabine, did you want to share?
Yes, I would like to say to you, Sarah, that I could very much relate to what you say about your body healing. I found it extremely interesting what you reported about your cortisol levels and your burnout. And this is something I experienced too, but I had no words for it because I didn't know the neuroscience about it. And of course, the hormone axis that it were influenced by it by that. This is what I'm learning today, and this is so very interesting because I had phases in my life when I was in my 30s where I had such a high stress level that I got acne. I don't know the English word, but this is very crazy thing with your tissue or skin. And it was caused, I suppose, from very high testosterone levels in
Mhm.
my inside me,
Possibly.
and this was what I discovered now.
Mhm.
30 years ago, there was no diagnosis about that, and I suppose that I had this that this had caused PCSO to me as well. And this is the reason why I didn't get pregnant. And
Mhm.
but I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Um, I had a talk with my doctor about that, and he said that could probably be very the true reason for it. And what I learned about it is that my body reacts to post-traumatic stress, and
Mhm.
it is highly adaptive. And my body tried to protect me
Mhm.
from the emotional test my family of origin
Mhm.
had to be, and I had to break free. And this was a kind of decision for me. And my body produces this extremely high testosterone levels to give me the power. And
Mhm.
this was, for me, the new thing that I got in my head last week. It's a really new experience for me that my body was so highly adaptive to protect me. It was
Mhm.
so necessary because I come from complex trauma as well. Real trauma in my family of origin because I was parentified for different reasons. And so I know very well what it means to come from PTSD. And I think that is was a thing that I experienced as well. And then the transgenerational thing which my grandfather caused in our family, and this is such a mess. So that over the 30 years I worked through this. I had so different facets of that, and one of that, what I discover now, is my body. And I can really relate to that, what you say about your hormone levels, that they shift from one side to the other. And this is the way I see today how my body tries to protect me from all this stuff. And this is such a very deep thing for me that I can acknowledge that it was a reaction of my body to high stress. And he tries to validate that and to give me the power to fight and not the power to fall into depression. Uh, I think I experienced kind of this depressions as well because my levels of oxytocin and serotonin went down, I suppose, and all that stuff. But in these times, I had no chance to escape from that. And so I see when you heal from trauma, you have to face the bodily side as well. And this is what I do today. And I'm very happy with that because it tells me I'm on the right path.
Mhm. I love that for you. What you're talking about with it's the biology of trauma, and it's so fascinating when you peel back the layers of it, and especially when you get into the complex stuff when coming from childhood. The I call them happy little serotonin babies versus cortisol babies. And I was a cortisol. Your brain develops, my brain developed on a cortisol pathway, so a stress pathway, versus a happy little serotonin baby who, and you can see them, you can see the difference in these kiddos. The ones that are the happy little serotonin babies, they're curious and they're free and they're into things and they're like exploring and they're energetic and they're vibrant. They like radiate vitality, and then the cortisol babies are like shy and scared and like cautious and don't really know, like, am I safe? They're constantly like, they have the cortisol babies are like, I know that I could not be safe. Serotonin babies don't know that. They just live in a world where they already are, they just are safe. And so when that developmental trajectory, I would love, if any of you guys know researchers, I would love to research public safety and veterans, especially in the special forces community, that the ones that gravitate towards this line of work that have that complex trauma from childhood, that abuse and neglect in their history, and how they were cortisol babies that developed with these adaptive measures that allowed them to be successful in public safety, to be successful in the military and combat, things of that nature. So I would love to study that. I have yet to see any kind of research that has connected those two pieces, but I actually offended a cop yesterday, or not, on Wednesday. I was teaching mental health first aid. It was really entertaining because, in case you were wondering, cops are just teddy bears wrapped in asshole. And so, like, if you can just pretend like the asshole doesn't exist and just talk to the teddy bear, like, their defense is like brick by brick come down. It's really fun. When I teach, it's really fun. And I like offended this officer on Wednesday because I was bringing up this idea of like researching and seeing how trauma in childhood, abuse and neglect, calling in abuse and neglect, leads people to being actually pretty successful in this space. And how I think I would love to study that because I see a lot of pattern in that. I'm seeing a pattern. And this guy was like, I don't have abuse and neglect in my trauma. And he's like the 30-year veteran who's 5 months from retiring, who everybody knows is like the guy on midnight who's like, give me my coffee and leave me alone and I'll be done in 5 months. Like, he's the crotchety old man that everybody knows. You just leave him alone. um, the I love that, Janet. So anyways, it was just, I was entertained by that. And he was like, "Arr," and I was like, hi, bring it. What else you got for me? This is fun. Like, you want to dance? I like to dance. Let's go. So, but Sabine, I put in here The Biology of Trauma by Dr. Amy Epigian. She is one of my trauma heroes. She's an MD who actually has really dug into the true biology underneath all of this. And so I teach a lot of her material actually in my classes. I try and bring it into language that people who are burnt out can actually receive. And it can make sense for someone who's never really maybe engaged in it. But she just wrote a book. It's published. She also has a community. If you're really interested, she has a whole course that you can go through. It's like she's got a practitioner track and then a layperson track, and it's really fantastic. It's all about nervous system regulation, and you might get some real benefit from fall down that rabbit hole with her. So
Thank you a lot, Sarah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sabine. That was interesting. And Jim, what's on your mind?
I just want to say thanks for sharing your stuff. And it's interesting. Michelle took off. I started my career in the dispatch world as a 16-year-old kid in the early '80s, and it was different back then. My wife spent 20 plus years in the profession and left because of unresolved trauma, that type of thing. Your talk about the suicide, that type of, she experienced similar things, and in an era when dispatchers were sort of left out of the mix of the whole
mostly
follow-up, type of process, which one of those things that was a pivotal when I talked about the 1990 event. That was a pivotal time because we actually incorporated the dispatch system people into that process then, because it was important to get them engaged. But it's always been one of those things from where I started my career and how the position was demeaned by the rank and file people, that type of thing. Not given the same level of status, etc., to finally getting to a point where, in a number of states where they do recognize them as first responders now and all that. So
finally, it's taken a lot of it. We're still the legislation. I have some good friends that are really making headway in the legislative process to reclassify dispatchers. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, when Kaya was killed, she was the one that was murdered. We, in our community, we have a peer support kind of network in the tri-state area, and we had one session of debriefing like that night, and then one session with the officers where the event started in, and that was it. And like that was it. And thank goodness, like I had a ton of resources before I even walked into the radio room. And so, and those were events that still stayed with me. Thankfully, I didn't have any, I wasn't triggered by them. I didn't have any, like I think the word trauma gets thrown around a lot and it's really misunderstood, and it's becoming a buzzword, and so it's losing its value, which is not good. I do think we have to reclaim that a little bit, because just because you have a major event doesn't mean it's going to be traumatic for you. And so it's all in the way you perceive it and respond to it, react to it. Does it overwhelm your system? That's what really, to me, defines trauma is, does it push you into overwhelm? Um, and, a lot of you guys have talked about how, like, you started back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, and the industry, I call you guys the OGs when I teach. Like when I teach and we talk about generational stuff, it's the OGs and the young bucks. And the OGs are the ones who built the system that the young bucks are coming in and saying, hey, we can improve upon this. And there's this perception the OGs like are worn out, right? In this, um, oh, I totally agree. Reality TV does make mental health diagnosis overused. I agree. Um, and so, but like the OG energy, uh like for me, when I my definition of trauma, my working definition of trauma is anything that sends your system into overwhelm. And this can be too much too fast, too little for too long, the right thing at the wrong time. And so that's actually Dr. Amy's working definition of trauma, and I really agree with that. The old guys, yeah, the OGs, like OGs, you guys are awesome. You guys built the framework and the foundations of what public safety and the military have right now. You built this, and you did it with blood, sweat, and tears without appreciation or validation. And you've gotten too little for too long. And so a lot of burnout is really, and that overwhelm is related to too little for too long. And then we get these young bucks in and they have this vitality and they have all these creative ideas and they can use the technology, and they're not afraid to say, I don't tolerate being treated that way. So there's like this challenge to almost an identity of like, pick yourself up, buttercup, and keep going. Like the young bucks are like, I don't do that. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not healthy. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We never got to say that. And it's like, right, because you had too little for too long. And so, I don't know, it's a whole thing that I see. And like, I could talk all day about all these different topics. But thank you, Jim. I called, I think firefighters are just teddy bears. They don't really have that asshole part. They might be drunk teddy bears, but they're teddy bears.
And I have to say that Jim is the teddy bear part.
Yeah, cops are wired differently. That's all.
They're teddy
That's
bears
right.
wrapped in asshole.
Oh, except for Rich. I have to say, except for Rich. He's all teddy bear.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like he's a big teddy bear.
Yeah, Rich is also retired though, right? Like so like, and he's done some work, right? There's been healing. It's the crusty pieces start to break off when you do the healing work. That's why it's like healing is the hardest work you will ever do and the best choice you will ever make.
Mm.
I'm gonna put it on a challenge coin.
Yeah.
And Rich, we all love you. You know that.
The, the worst part of my career, sir, was after retirement.
Mhm.
That's
Gets
when
quiet.
the demons came out. I mean,
Yep.
full time. I mean, nightmares and
Mm.
there's so
Yes.
many different dreams that I had, right?
Mhm.
And some a couple that still uh reoccur now, but I won't go into it now. Maybe some other time, but uh that I can't put my finger on, you know. I'll tell you one of them. One of them is I I drive my car and I park it somewhere and I can never find it again. And I'm out there with the clicker trying to, find the car and I can't find it. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's when it really, really hit me. And then I went to uh, a therapist, and she said, "Oh, you don't have PTSD." I said, "Oh, okay." And then she said, and then after that, all she wanted to do was listen to war stories. So I said, "No, I can't do this." So,
No. I mean, there's this we on my side of the wellness space, we talk about culturally competent clinicians who, I'm coaching a veteran. Oh, bye, Janet. It's good to see you. I'm coaching a Marine combat veteran right now, and we spent 10 hours between three different sessions where he like, and it was just consistent testing. Can you handle what I'm saying? And after the 10th hour, he had made up his mind and was like, okay, I know that you can handle my story. And I mean, and he did not hold back. And I was like, there's nothing you can say that I can't hold space for. Like, because I mean, I used to sit across from sociopaths. There's really literally nothing you can say that's going to cause me to like think differently of you. Like it just is, right? And so there's this culturally competent line of thinking with our clinicians where it's hard to find one that you don't end up becoming the one that's caring for the clinician when it's supposed to be the reverse. The clinician is supposed to be caring for you. And instead, like you're explaining your stories, you're sharing your stories, you're sharing like what is bringing you there, the overwhelm, the moments that push you into overwhelm that you need support for. And like your therapist is crying, like, I can't manage that. I need you to be like filtered enough to hold space for me because otherwise I have to take care of you and that means I can't fully open up. I can't fully be present. I can't fully receive the support that I need in order to do the deep work of healing. So
Right. Very good,
Scott, did you want
Sarah.
to say something?
No, I was still stuck on the the cop thing, and then I started thinking, that's kind of like guys in general too, right? A lot of times guys are that way until they get a little older, and
Mhm.
they can exhale and see life a little differently, right? And then become good grandparents, or
Mhm.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Cool.
sure. For sure.
Well, this might be a good time to wrap things up. Again, you guys, thank you so much for your participation. You always make the conversation so rich. And Sarah, what a pleasure to have you on. I mean, so rich, being so open with your story and helping, people identify what certain issues are connected to your story and just your fun with the whole thing and all your exploring. And I totally cannot see you working in a little box. Like you are all over outside the box in a great, great way. You are the one that finds really great modalities that actually really help heal people. So, what a pleasure to have you on. I hope we see you more often. I mean, we'll have to explore ideas with you. So,
Yes. I
yeah.
would love that. I would love that. And I'm really excited to come to, when I can, I'm going to come to the Wednesday church service space.
Oh, good.
I
Good.
really, that's a real interesting growing space for me right now. So I'm going to come to that on, well, I just haven't been able to. My Wednesdays have been occupied. So I haven't been able to, but I want to.
Well, anytime it works, you are warmly welcome to come. It's another wonderful group of people from all over the world. So what do you want us to walk away with today?
That healing is the hardest work you'll ever do and the best choice you'll ever make.
Can't get better than that. That's great. Sarah and all, thank you so much for being on today. Have a fantastic weekend. Much love to you all. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.